Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Shraddha's Physics. This video will be based on the Fourier transform. This is the second unit of Core 8 and today we will see what is Fourier transform. So before going to the Fourier transform, let me tell you what is Fourier series in short. Basically the signals are two types. One is periodic signal and another is non-periodic signal. For this periodic signal we will use Fourier series. So this Fourier series expansion, which is used for the periodic signals to expand them in terms of their harmonics, which are sinusoidal and orthogonal to one another. So this basically I can say that this periodic signal, which we define for the Fourier series, it basically this Fourier series of two types. One is for continuous time Fourier series and another is discrete time Fourier series. And similarly, this non-periodic signal, for this non-periodic signal, why I am saying that this is non-periodic? Because with respect to the time, it doesn't vary periodically with the time. Okay. So basically the real life signals, they are non-periodic in nature. For this non-periodic signal, we will use Fourier transform. Okay. Again, this Fourier transform is of two types. One is continuous time Fourier transform and another is discrete time Fourier transform. Okay. So basically the periodic signal means, what is the periodic signal? It means this any signal which repeats itself after a particular interval of time. That is for a particular time period. If this will repeat again, then we can call it as the periodic signal. If this is not the case, then we can say that this will be the non-periodic in nature. Suppose for example, this x of t plus or minus t, this will be equal to suppose x of t. So this is called as the periodic signal. This Fourier series and Fourier transform, they are used for the analysis purpose. They both are used for the analysis purpose. But for designing purpose, we will see later in case of your Laplace transform. In case of Laplace transform, that we will use for the designing purpose. But this Fourier series and Fourier transform, they are used for the analysis purpose. So let us start with our topic, that is what is Fourier transform. This Fourier transform, it is a mathematical tool. This can be called as the mathematical tool for the transform, which transforms a function of time. Suppose here I am writing f of t to a function of frequency, that is suppose f of omega. That is, I mean to say that this Fourier transform, it transforms the data from one domain to the another domain. Basically it transforms the data from one domain to another domain. If a function is in the time domain, then we can convert this to the frequency domain by the use of Fourier transform. And the vice versa is also true. It means that when you want to convert this frequency domain to the time domain, then we will use the inverse Fourier transform. And for this, the function should satisfy the Dirichlet's condition. As in case of Fourier series, I have already told you that the Fourier series, in case of the Fourier series, the function should satisfy the Dirichlet's condition. So let me tell you what is Dirichlet's condition here. So this Dirichlet's condition, let me tell you, the first condition is the function, or we can say that the signal, the function or the signal, it should have finite number of maximas and minimas. The function or signals have finite number of maximas and minimas. Finite number of maximas and minimas over the range of time period. Okay. So what do you mean by maximas and minimas? So suppose for a signal, here this is my signal suppose. So in this case, this is my maxima point and these are the highest peak are known as the maxima and the lowest are known as your minima. or suppose my signal is in this form, that is in the triangular shape. Here these peaks are the maximus and these peaks are the this is called the minima peak. Sorry, these are the minimas and these peaks are called the maximus. Here you can see that for any particular or for a shortened range of time period, you can calculate the number of maximas or the number of minimas. Okay. But suppose if I will draw, the signals should be like within certain range of time period. If the signal varies like this, that is a large number of varying signals. If you can see this amplitude varies like this. So here you can say that the finite number of maximas and minimas cannot determine here. So to satisfy the Dirichlet's condition, the function should have finite number of maximas and minimas over the range of the time period. So this is the first condition of Dirichlet. And the second condition is this function and the signal, the function or signals, it should have the functions or the signals, it should have finite number of discontinuities. Finite number of discontinuities. Okay. This finite number of discontinuities over the certain range of discontinuities over the range of the time period. Over the range of time period. Range of time period. Over the range of time period. So what do you mean by the discontinuities here? The finite number of discontinuities. Suppose in case of the digital signal. In case of digital signal, in case of this square wave, if I will plot, this is my square wave. That is here. In this case, it starts from 0 and it will reach at 1. That is the high value is 1. Then after this interval 1, then it will again, certainly it will goes to 0. Then it will stay here for some time. Then again it will reach to the 1 and again the process will repeat. But exactly for a shortened time interval, you can say that the signal has the value 0 or the signal have reached the high value or that is 1. But when I plot a curve like this, suppose here I am, for a shortened range, if I plot the curve like this is just step like signal, you can say here up to the infinity, and here also suppose like this. So here you can see that in this second case, the discontinuities will be remain up to the infinity. For a shortened interval of time, it goes to the infinity number of times. This discontinuities last for the infinity. But here in the first case, you can see the you can calculate the finite number of, you can calculate the discontinuities, or I can say that there are the finite number of discontinuities in this first case. Okay, so Dirichlet's condition satisfies for this condition, but this will not satisfy for the infinite number of discontinuities function. Okay. Up to this we have studied Dirichlet's condition. One case is it should have the function should have maxima and minima, that is the finite number of maximas and minimas, and the second condition is the finite number of discontinuities. The function should have the finite number of discontinuities. Okay. Let us see the third condition. The third condition is the function should be square integrable. Okay. Let me write here the function, or we can say that the signal, the function or the signals, it should be, just try to write it, should be square integrable. It should be square integrable over the range of time in square integrable over the range of time period, over the range of time period. Okay. Now we will see what is square integrable function. The square integrable function basically means that suppose any function I am defining, suppose x of t modulus dt. The integration value, it should be finite. The value should be finite, or we can say that this value should be less than infinity. It should not goes to the infinity. It means that, let me give you an example. Suppose I am plotting here the curve. Suppose this is my graph for any shortened range, for any particular range. If I want, this is suppose 0, this is t by 2 and t and so on. Within this 0 to t by 2 range, if I want to calculate this particular area, so I can calculate this area, and it has some finite values. Okay, it has some finite value. We can calculate this for this certain interval, that is 0 to t by 2. But suppose if I will plot the curve like, suppose this is my function varies like this, and again this will be varies like this. And here you cannot integrate this function, or we can say that if I will integrate this function, it goes to infinity, because the area under that curve we can't find. For the first case, you can find the area under this curve, and in the second case, in this second case, you cannot find the area under that curve. So this is called when the function or the signal, it is square integrable over the certain range of time, then I can say that it satisfies the Dirichlet's condition. That is, the area under the shortened curve can be found, and that value should be finite in nature. So there are 3 Dirichlet's condition. First is, it should have finite number of maximas and minimas. Maxima and minima, it should be finite in number. And the second condition is, it should have the finite number of discontinuities. The discontinuities, it should be finite in number. And the last one, that is, the function should be square integrable in nature. It should be square integrable. And here we are calculating this for a shortened range of time. Okay. So basing on that concept, suppose I will introduce a function, suppose g of omega. Here I am writing omega, this is the frequency component. Here I am writing the frequency function, that is g of omega, that is equal to some integration over the range a to b f of x, this is the k of x comma omega dx. Here you can see that what is this k represent? This k is called as the kernel. What is this kernel? It means that, or you can define this kernel as, if the function, this g of omega, it is known as the integral transform of the function f of x by the kernel k of x comma omega. Are you getting my point? The function g of omega, it is called the integral transform. The integral transform of what? F of x. G of omega is the integral transform of f of x by the kernel k of x comma omega. Okay. Depending on this type of the kernel, which type of kernel we are using, what is this function kernel? Now we will define that kernel. So depending on the type of kernel, there are different integral transforms. So let me introduce. So for Fourier transform, this kernel is nothing but a function. Simply this is a function k of x comma omega, and its value should be exponential I omega x. Okay, simply we are multiplying these two variables x and omega. Okay, and similarly the another, that is Laplace transform. For Laplace transform, I can write the kernel for Laplace transform. The kernel, that is k of x comma omega, it can be written as, this will be equal to exponential minus omega x. Okay, and for Mellin transform, there are basically 4 types I am writing here. For Mellin transform, this kernel k of x omega, it is equal to x Jn of omega x. And for Hankel transform, this kernel can be written as k of x comma omega. It can be written as this will be equal to x power omega minus 1. Okay. So these are basically the types of the kernel we are using here. Why we are using this kernel? Because we want to transform one domain to other domain. That is, you can see here the function is in the domain of x. Now we can transform this to the omega domain. So to transform this domain transform this function, or we can say that if we want to transform one function in one domain to the other domain, then we will use this kernel. Okay. So this g of omega, it is the integral transform of the function f of x by this kernel k of x omega. So we will use the Fourier transform. In Fourier transform, we will use the exponential I omega x. This is the exponential I omega x as your kernel. Okay. So this is all for today. In the next class, we will see what is Fourier integral. And that after we will see the Fourier transform and the inverse Fourier transform. Thank you all. Jai Jagannath.